everybody. Hi, how are you today? I'm Shelly Palmer. It's 3 o'clock here in New York City, and this is the Strategy Hacker Live. Hope you're all having a great day today. I see a whole bunch of you already here. Mickey, hello, and Ken and Alexandra, welcome. Mark, welcome. Seth Everett, my partner in crime for the new Tech Stream podcast. I see you're here too. Welcome. We're only on YouTube live today, and I'm hoping it's awesome. Tell me that the audio is good and in sync, and tell me that the video is good. I'd love to know the answer to both of those questions. We had so many issues last week. It was on the border of embarrassing. And if it was my fault, I'd have been really upset about it. As it turns out, it wasn't my fault. It had to do with the multi-streaming service we were using, whose name I will not mention because they are service non grata forever and ever and ever. So I hope everything looks good and sounds great. We have all kinds of new stuff. Such an important day today. So much news. Just so much news to talk about. Welcome, Gary. Hope you're doing well from Southern California. As you all know, the chat is where this whole thing happens. So please introduce yourselves. Tell me where you are. I see Ken's in New York City. I see that Gary's in Southern California. And also just tell me where you are. And you should tell each and every one of you in the chat what you do, just 1 or 2 lines about what you do so that all of you guys can get together and hang out a little bit. This is an AMA, and Ask Me Anything. This is my office hours once a week. I'd love to hang out with you guys for an hour and just talk about whatever you want to talk about, although we have a great agenda today. We're going to look at some crypto. We're going to see how the mining operation is doing. We're going to mint an NFT if we can, depending on the gas prices, and we'll talk about gas prices. I want to take all of your questions. Hi, Steve Catola from Toronto. Welcome. Glad you're here. Again, everybody, just keep the chat alive and talking to one another is really important. If you are feeling the love, you can subscribe to the channel and you can hit whatever the buttons are that you're supposed to hit for notifications. Hi, Oliver. How are you? Welcome from Utah. Again, Howie Schwartz. Welcome from the Hudson Valley. Tell everybody what you do. Alexandra, nice to see you too, and where you are, because those are the really fun things, where you are, what you do, and maybe you guys can sort of get to know each other and learn a little bit and teach a little bit and all that. This week, we learned that the internet is a lot like pizza. Yeah, the WOW ISP, a small ISP with that 800,000 subs across Virginia and some of the states in the middle of the United States, said that it was okay for them to cap your data. They just felt like they were going to tell everybody June 1st they're capping the data. And that's cool. And they weren't telling you how much they were going to cap it by, and they weren't telling you anything about what you'd have to do to abuse the privilege of your data. They just said they were going to cap it. This is what net neutrality is all about, folks. And whether you're pro or con government regulation, or whether you're pro or con any of this, I think it's important for all of us to weigh in on what this means. What does it mean? It's not the free market if you've got one choice. It's their way or the highway. So this week, when I saw this, I just didn't quite know what to make of it. It's like, wow, that's amazing. So you're just going to cap everybody's data at your desire. And it's not about network congestion, folks. It isn't. I'm promising you. You know how I know that? You want real proof? I'll tell you. When the pandemic started, every ISP, Comcast, Spectrum, didn't matter who you were, AT&T, Fios, whoever you were on, big, small, they all let go of their data caps, and they all just were giving as much access as you could stand because they wanted to help in every way they could. And guess what? The internet did not break. Not even a little. No broken internet. Now, what is this? You have to cap my data? It's an old concept. It's an old idea, and I'm really sad about it. So I am really hoping that you will get on your internet device that it's uncapped at the moment and write to your elected officials and possibly even allow about a little bit of a note to the people at WOW. Speaking of WOW, hello, Don Levine, and hello, David Houle. Welcome. Glad you're here. Joe, glad you're here too. Aldo, welcome. Happy everybody's here. Again, your questions in chat, please. Joey is standing by deep in the bowels of New Jersey, where he can see this entire chat thread and he can throw them in so we can put some of the questions up on the screen for everyone to see. If you've got a question, please ask it. You know, this was a crazy week on the dark web, which I've always thought was a funny name for basically the areas of the web that just Google doesn't search, but people just think anything that they can't see is the dark web. They just prevent Google from listing their sites. But anyway, on the dark web, ooh, wait a minute. A bunch of Facebook data, 500 million user profiles showed up. They were leaked in 2019. Facebook reported it. Everybody knew it happened, but it hadn't shown up, at least not in any substantial size. This week it did, and that's terrifying. One of the reasons that I knew something had gone amiss, it felt a great disturbance in the force a few weeks ago, it was pretty obvious there was a bunch of new data out that was leaking pretty heavily. I wasn't sure where it was from. I'm not sure it was from this anyway, but the correlation and timing. So many unemployment scams going on right now. And then all the extra COVID, all of the extra COVID relief stuff that's out there. People are scamming by stealing identities of people they wouldn't ordinarily steal. A year ago, a year and a half ago, you weren't going to be the target of identity theft unless someone was going to revenge porn you, knew something about you, it was an inside job, or you were really rich and they just decided to target you. Now, because the government's sending checks and the unemployment is enhanced and all these COVID relief packages exist, people are getting their identity stolen. And some of it's a victimless crime, like the unemployment thing. It's your employer whose rates go up, and then the employer's got to go and spend the time with the unemployment group at the state level to try and get their rates put back to normal. It's kind of evil. So be aware. Also, it goes without saying, click on nothing. If you don't know where it's from, don't click on it. And if you're getting text messages with links, that's a sure sign somebody is doing something really wrong. Lance, absolutely. NFTs, Mark Cuban, Tom Brady. We'll talk about that today for sure. Absolutely. In fact, we can talk about it right now for a second. Tom Brady's autograph company is going to launch in the springtime of sometime, I guess, in the spring, which is now. So why? Why are we launching NFTs, and why are we launching NFT programs? And the answer is pretty clear. It's a bubble. It's like a crazy bubble. Today, a little later in the show, we're going to go seriously deep into what it means to mint an NFT. You make an NFT by minting it. And where you mine cryptocurrency, you mint NFTs. And at the moment, the blockchains are all proof of work, so they are very, very, very expensive to play on. The concept is called gas prices, and they are insanely high, as we will see in a moment when we go to mint our NFTs. You're going to see you can get an up-close personal view of what it means to have a transaction fee exceed the value of what you're trying to do. So, yeah, it's pretty nuts. Oh yeah, I got a whole bunch of sound effects. We do a little comedy. Yeah, we do. And I can harken back to days of yore. I brought myself, and of course I can pay attention to something by taking a picture of it. But anyway, yeah, I just put a bunch of sound effects in my stream deck because I had nothing else to do last night while I was prepping the show. Anyway, gas prices are crazy. We're going to talk about why gas prices are crazy. Yesterday's news was important to me anyway. LG, they're exiting the smartphone business. And on TikTok, I did it everywhere. I did it on YouTube. You could find it on this channel. It was terrible. I did a mock eulogy for LG's smartphone line. I felt a little bad about it. I mean, a little. But not much. They're the worst marketing I've ever seen and the worst PR I've ever seen. The phones, actually, when they started, were pretty good. It's Android phone. They did a pretty nice job. They were one of the most talked about device vaporwares at CES, the virtual vaporware CES. This past January, they had the rolling phone, the smartphone that rolled out. That was kind of cool. But the phones, they only had 10% of the US cell phone market. That was all based on price. And maybe they're 2% of the global market. I'll give you big points if you can name in order without looking at the internet, and none of you're already going to look at the internet because it's the internet. But in order, if you can tell me who the other, besides Apple and Samsung, and then you could tell me what order they're in globally, who the other biggest smartphone guys are, because LG wasn't in the top at all, top 7, top even 8, they weren't in there. They only had 2% of the global market. They lost something on the order of $4.5 billion in the last 6 years. $4.5 billion. That was what they lost, not what they earned. Nutty. Hello, Simon Applebaum. Welcome. Tomorrow will be televised. Absolutely wonderful podcast. If you haven't seen it, you should. Simon is an absolute authority on all the things happening in television. And I think you'll really enjoy his podcast. I know that I do. Nus, welcome from Hudson Valley. And Lance, welcome. Sports. Yeah, we're taking that question, and we will definitely, we're going to look into some other stuff. Again, folks, in the chat, I see a bunch of you here. So if you'd be kind enough to tell me where you are, what you're doing, ask any questions you want to ask, and of course, interact with each other. That's so much a part of what we're doing here. Movie theaters are opening up. Here in New York, we're seeing a slow rollout of movie theaters. I don't know if it's happening in your neighborhood, but it's happening here. My question to every one of you is, are you ready to go back to a movie theater? It's a big question. I don't know that I am. I really like present tense, as in love right now, this minute. Hey there, Bob Sopko from Cleveland. I really like getting movies on my television. My wife and I sat through the whole DC saga the other night. Zack Snyder's 4:3 rendition of the DC comics, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, it was absolutely mindless entertainment and lovely. But you know the best part about that? I was laying on my couch with my own remote control, looking at my own television set, my own living room, adult frosty beverage, very, awesome. And yeah, there's that. So it was fun. But I don't know if I'm ready to go back to a movie theater. I'm vaccinated. My wife is vaccinated. I know a lot of people who are. They said about 100 million Americans have at least one shot, which is fantastic. But I don't know. And if I did go to a movie theater, they opened a Broadway theater here this week too, just for a minute. It's so much needed for the musicians, the singers, and actors and actresses and craftspeople that are the heart and soul of the theater district here in New York. These are my friends for life. They're people I've known my whole career. I've been in the music business my whole career. I don't know that I'm willing to go to a Broadway show and sit 4 seats from somebody, 3 seats from somebody. First of all, the theater can't make a living at 50% capacity. So that doesn't make any sense either. It's hard. This one's really, really hard. I don't know. I'm looking at this picture of this theater, everything masks and every other seat. And I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know. You tell me, is this something you guys are willing to do? My sense of the room is that it probably isn't something everybody wants to do, but I don't know. I don't know. Shameless plug for a minute while everybody's getting together, and welcome everybody. I see everybody's signing on, which is wonderful. Welcome. Again, chat's where it's at. And we'd love to answer your questions. And we would love you to ask questions of each other. Of course, absolutely tell everybody where you are and what you do. And if you've got a username, you can throw your first name in there just so I can call you out and say hi and can match a first name at least with a username. That'd be great. You don't have to do that, but it'd be great. Shameless plug just for a second. I know Seth Everett's listening today, and Seth is my partner in crime in a brand new podcast. It's the second episode launched today. It's called TechStream. It is about the pop culture you love, and it's about the tech you only dream about, or in this case, the tech you like to talk about. And we just have so much fun doing it. I hope you'll have a lot of fun listening to it. The only way we're going to know is if you download it. It's at Apple and it's at Spotify. Those are the 2 places we've put it. From our friends at Underdog Podcasts. I learned a lot about them in the last few weeks. They got a whole bunch of other great shows too, so you should check them out, Underdog Podcasts. And they distribute on Apple and Spotify, which is awesome. We talked a little bit about vaccine passports earlier in the week. I see the consensus here on chat is that there will not be a lot of people going to movies. I don't know, David Charmont. Is it as safe as flying? I bet it could be. It could. Is it the safety, or just is it worth it? And if flying, I have to do. I mean, I got to get on an airplane at some point. I'm going to get on an airplane. I'm told by my friends at Delta Airlines, my favorite airline in the entire world, where I have like, I don't know what they call it after platinum, awesome, crazy Sherpa service, but I've got so many miles on Delta and I've been flying them for so many years. A lot of friends there. The air handlers in the planes, the way they handle it, and they're through April, they're going to be every other seat at Delta. Then they'll go start packing the planes like the other airlines do. The plane itself is incredibly safe. You don't have a choice. The airport you're wondering about and sitting in the restaurants in the airport. But I can get a great product at home when it's about consuming content. Not to brag, I have a Samsung 85-inch all singing and all dancing television set in my living room that I am in love with. I bought it, excuse me, last year. And it's a 4K set that just makes me happy. I have to do something about the audio because the audio in the room is not as big as the television set, which is kind of funny. It's a 5.1 system, but it's an older 5.1 system. And I think the living room and a set that size deserves a bigger audio install. And I just haven't really thought through what I want to do there. And my wife is not a fan of cables laying all over the place, which means that whatever I install we'll need to pull the room apart and put some cables around, and they're not allowing construction during the pandemic. So I got off the hook, but one way or the other, it's a great experience in my own living room. No matter how good the experience is in my car, there's limits to how far I can drive and there's limits how far I can walk. Got to get on an airplane. Don't know if I have to go to a movie theater. Don't know if I want to go to a movie theater. I'm thinking about it. I'm just wondering where you guys are. Vaccine passports are the key, right? That's what we're going to be talking about now. And this is the conversation I want all of you to weigh in on today. This is, if we're going to talk about one thing before we get deep in the coming up promo, we are in fact going to pick a wallet in a minute. I'm going to get a wallet going and we're going to tell you about wallets, and then we're going to look at OpenSea, and we're going to go mint some. We're definitely going to go mint some NFTs in a minute. But before we do, I want to talk about vaccine passports. That's our key to getting back to the movies. That's our key to doing everything, basically. That's our key. And the question becomes, what are we comfortable doing? What are we going to do? Are we really going back? And if we are going back, how does it work? How does it work? When I think about vaccine passports, I'm old enough to remember, and not fondly, in fact, with absolutely no emotion about it whatsoever, because it wasn't politicized. I'm able to think back to the little yellow piece of paper that went on my passport when I would go to what were then called third world countries. Some of them are no longer considered third world countries, but back then they were considered third world countries, and you needed to have a set of shots in order to go. No one really cared if you got them or not. I mean, the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol cared if you were coming back in. If you hadn't been vaccinated, they weren't going to let you back in the country. So you could leave without it. I don't think a lot of those countries, as I remember traveling, I was going speaking engagements all over the planet, and I don't remember any country ever carrying on entry if I was vaccinated. But if you came from somewhere that had some disease that you could or needed to be vaccinated from, like you went to, and then you ended up coming back through Europe, come back through the UK, come back through Paris, come back through Germany, they'd check there. And certainly at customs in the United States, they would check. There was no emotion about it. There's no politicized anything about it. It was, if you're going there, you don't want to get XYZ disease, whatever it was, and if they had a shot for it, they'd tell you, the State Department had a list, and the list was, get your shot if you want to go to this place, because you're an idiot if you don't. And I don't know how many anti-vaxxers would go to places where you could get something that would kill you and they wouldn't let you back in the country if you didn't have. So the vaccine passports, when I post stuff about vaccine passports, and as I think I've told a bunch of you, I'm now a TikTok star. I'm saying that tongue firmly in cheek. It's like I'm so if you go to TikTok, Shelly Palmer 5 on TikTok, and you go back a little bit and you see some of the stuff on vaccine passports, the comments from this crowd, which are such a diverse crowd, the most diverse crowd you will ever see in the world, on comments. It's all mark of the beast. The crazies came out, and they came out in force. They came out in force to they came out in force to talk about vaccine passports. So here is a thought experiment for everybody. Ready for this is our vaccine passport thought experiment. And I want everyone to please take this I want you to take this in the light in which it's given. Boys on the right, girls on the left, clustered and classified. We've made those lines since grade school. Safe on the left, unsafe on the right. How you feel about that? Well, I'll tell you what. When you start separating people into two groups, us and them, good and bad, yes and no, things get weird. Things get weird. I'm reluctant to bring this up, and I'm reluctant to say it, and I don't mean to be a shock guy. When we teach AI bias in our consulting practice, when we talk about data science and mathematics, one of the most important things you can do when you have a big pile of big data, because you're a human being and you can't understand it, that's why it's big data, right? If I gave you a spreadsheet that's 10 rows by 10 columns and I said, tell me about it, you're not going to have trouble doing that because you can look at 10 rows and 10 columns. But if it's 100,000 rows by 100,000 columns, I don't care how good you are, you're not looking at that data set and telling me anything. If it's 100,000 rows by 30 columns, you're not looking at it. You're not looking at it. A computer's going to look at it. And to do it right, you have to teach the computer to look at it. And you could either have supervised learning or unsupervised learning, but one way or the other, you're going to have to either train a model to look at that data, or you're going to have to write an algorithm to look at that data. You're going to cluster and classify what's on that, or what's in that array. So what does that look like? What does that look like? And when we teach it, we teach the inherent bias in all of the coders, because everybody has inherent bias. Boys on the right, girls on the left. So I used to ask in that class that we would teach with leadership teams from all walks of life. All right, well, if we have boys on the right and girls on the left, or likely to buy on the left and not likely to buy on the right, most likely sick on the left, most likely well on the right, most likely obese on the left, most likely not obese on the right. And then when I feel like shocking people, I say, okay, does this remind you of anything? And the next thing I say is Jews on the left, Gentiles on the right. And everybody's brain explodes. Everybody's brain explodes. What can you infer from the data set? Well, an awful lot. Data tells you a lot, especially the kind of data that social media collects now, the behavioral data looks like now. A lot. What does it mean, safe and unsafe? And this is a great question. Gary E., who is to say who is unsafe? Just because you haven't been vaccinated, does that mean you're unsafe? If it does, what's your moral responsibility as a business owner? To just say, I'm sorry, you can't come in to my place of business because they're in a place of business just across the street that will accept you? So that we're going to have super spreader events happening in bar A, and we're going to have only people who have been vaccinated and are, to Gary E.'s point, presumed safe, because we don't really know. How can you know? Put something in chat. Good idea, bad idea. I downloaded the vaccine passport. I had no problem doing it. I didn't have an issue. I didn't think it mattered. I mean, it's, it's a thing. It's a barcode. I don't really care. If it gets me into a venue, if it gets me into a restaurant, if it allows me to go to a concert, if that's what they're collecting, I don't care. But there are people who do care. There are people who are very worried that once this data is in a place that is not protected, and I don't think anybody believes that this data set's going to stay. I don't think anybody believes that this data is going to stay private. I hope this fits. I hope this is a great statement, really. You won't be able to read that. It says, what happened to the greater good? As long as people have the right to decline a vaccination, shouldn't I have the right to enter a public space and be protected? This is where sound bites fail us. It really is. This is, I think this is where sound bites fail us. I think this is where a solid, Socratic conversation belongs. I think this is where you stop trying to figure it out the easy way, and you think through what it means. Sure, I think we should be entitled to a safe harbor. That's the role of government, to ensure our safety. We would hope that our employers would ensure our safety when we come to work. Can an employer reasonably ask you to become vaccinated? Reasonably? What if you're a 20-something-year-old girl like that young lady who worked out at Red Hook Tavern? And she was fired because she was an at-will employee, and they were firing people who wouldn't become vaccinated. Her reason was, look, there's no science on what this will do to an unborn child if I conceive, or to me if I'm pregnant. I'm trying to get pregnant. I'm not comfortable getting a vaccine. I understand why everybody needs it. I'm going to let you fire me, and I'm not going to sue you. I get it, but I just don't want to play. You don't have good enough information for me to risk my child's life, my unborn child's life, if I should be lucky enough to get pregnant, or my life if I do become pregnant. Spot on. How do you answer that back and say anything but yep? Absolutely. So I think this is again, if you want to talk about this, you can always find me and send an email to Shelly at shellypalmer.com. I know a lot of you are reluctant to put this kind of information in a public chat or a public comment, because it's a point of view that may evolve. You may evolve your thinking one way or the other, and we don't know where this is going to go. But I would welcome the dialogue. I'm struggling with this. All of the CEOs that we work with are struggling with this. All the companies we consult are struggling with this. To be fair and frank, everyone I know, including myself, smart people are looking for other points of view. This does not. My worldview is not the only worldview, and to be fair, your worldview isn't either. But we're at a point right now where we owe ourselves a duty to think this all the way through. What should this look like? And if we are going to anonymize the data in the vaccine passports, then how does that feel, and what does that look like? All these are important questions. The social pop-ups coming up down here. At Shelly Palmer, that's my Twitter handle. I'd love you to tweet something nice or not at Shelly Palmer whenever you feel like it. I just would appreciate it if you'd do that. That'd be awesome. Let's move on a little bit. I think we killed the vaccine passport thing as much as I want to. There was something else interesting that happened today. I saw that there was a fairly significant raise at Patreon. They raised $155 million, giving them a $4 billion valuation. I don't know if any of you know Patreon, if you've ever used it. It's a tremendous, albeit still unprofitable, but a tremendous idea that I really applaud. What Patreon does is they allow creators, they've got about 200,000 creators and roughly 7 million fans. And their thought process is that they connect fans with creators. And they allow the fans to pay what they want, to make a donation. That's not, so they don't have to have a constant begathon. It's like a full-time begathon. It's as if every creator was PBS. But It's more than that. And they've got a little competition and they haven't been profitable yet, but they have really, they're the big dog in the hunt right now. And they're the people to beat. I'm a huge fan of what they're doing for a couple of reasons. And I'm using this as a launching pad to get us into our NFT conversation today. The reason that I am very high on Patreon and what they've done, whether this is the best thing ever or just a thing, is that there's a new class of business arising that I think, I'm hoping, I'm actually praying is going to be formidable. Some people call it the creator class. I don't know if I like that name or not. I haven't figured that out yet, but the creator class. And these are all the YouTubers and people that are cottage industries, that are content creators, but it's more than that. Artists, musicians, singers, dancers, people that nourish your soul, that make you, basically just happy to be alive, right? I mean, those are the people. And the creator class has a big problem throughout history. And I'm going to just take you on a little journey, and then we're going to get into why cryptocurrency, specifically NFTs and non-fungible token use of blockchain or distributed ledger technology is a good idea. I think is a good idea. Creators create, and they're usually really good at what they do and not so good at anything else. Some of them think they're business people. Some of them are business people. Taylor Swift, good business person. Madonna, good business person. Lady Gaga, Kanye, there's some good business people in the business. Beyonce, Oprah. But most great piano players play great piano. That's what they do. 1980 was an interesting year. MTV goes on the air with the song Video Killed a Radio Star. It was the most prescient, the most appropriate, spot on way to launch that channel I could ever imagine. Because Steely Dan never had to go on tour. They could be just an album band. But in 1980, if you didn't know how to make a music video that people wanted to watch, it was done. Stick a fork in you. John F. Kennedy was the first television president. During the presidential debate, he wore makeup. He was debating Richard Nixon, who refused to wear it. People who heard that debate on the radio said that Nixon won. People who saw that debate on television said that Kennedy won. Jacqueline made sure that John Kennedy was made up and perfectly dressed for television. President Obama was the first internet president. He fully understood how to use the internet at the time. Donald Trump, absolutely the first social media president. There's never been anybody better in the history of the world at social media. While he had his Twitter pulpit, he was 100% in the news cycle, 100% of the time, and 100% of it was on social media. It was 92% was on social media. It was crazy. Every musician learned to use video in 1980, and every musician learned to use the internet right around the time of the 2008, the recession, right in there, 2007, 8, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Everybody got really good at it, really good at it. And now they're all great at video too. And what we're asking the creators to do now is take another giant leap. Become your own business. You're not only going to need musical skills or artistic skills or acting skills or singing skills or whatever skills they are. You're going to need solid technology skills, a little business acumen, a little bit of promotional panache. Music has been only a component of the music business since I was a kid. Music that you buy, the music you know, unless you are a musician who is an aficionado of eclectic, crazy stuff like me, or you just happen to be one of the rare individuals who loves to listen to Lithuanian folk music circa 1934, catalog it, and to see if you could write in that style. But if you're not one of those people who has looked for key centers and giant steps, or if you're not one of those people who has sat through 3-part Bach inventions and 6-part canons and tried to deconstruct them by musicological name of line and antecedent and consequent phrase, if you're not that person, then the music in the music business is just a component part. It's entertainment with music as the medium. And you like the person's style, their cool factor, the way they handle themselves, how they look, their sex appeal. Get down on the list of all the things that make somebody a popular musician. Music's on the list, but it's not high on the list, to be fair. It isn't. Never has been. Not in the music business. Not in the music business. Now you're going to have some skills. Patreon is a beautiful way for someone who's got no business skills whatsoever to do what they do, to practice 6-7 hours a day, to go on YouTube at night and teach a piano class or entertain someone, or just make you smile because they're communicating from their heart and they're giving you something of great value. They're giving you music or dance or song or poetry or something they believe in that they've done, or some artwork that they're drawing for you. And you can show your appreciation in the only way that you can, which is to send them some money. And Patreon empowers that in a beautiful way. They don't have to beg, they don't have to ask, they don't have to think about it, tie it to the bank account. It's done. It's magnificent. Now, the follow-on to that is what we were talking about a little bit earlier. The follow-on to that is going to be some version of an NFT. And while there is an awful lot of hype and silliness around it, let's go ahead and let's go deep into what it is to mint an NFT and see if we understand what a non-fungible token is and how it works. Ask your questions. Again, if you want to email me, you certainly can. You're going to have questions. I know you are. Let's talk just a little bit about what we need to do to get our NFT going. Now, we're going to try and mint NFTs. What does it mean to mint an NFT? If you were with me last week and the week before, you know that we were mining Ether, right? What does it mean to mine Ether? Here is my mining rig. It's just over there. It's behind me. I think I explained to you last week or the week before and the week before. This is it's a PC. It's running Windows 10. It's an i7-9700. That's a 10th generation CPU. It's not particularly new and it's not particularly powerful. And for this, it doesn't need to be, because what it's doing is it's just mining Ether. So who's doing the heavy lifting? The graphics card. You can see that the graphics card is I think you can see here, I'll point to it. This is a GeForce card. It's a one generation older, out with the 3000 series now. This is a 2080 Ti 11 gigabyte card. And what it does is it does all the heavy lifting and it's doing all the mining, and everybody else is just doing nothing. Everybody else is not. So this is the mine itself, mining. This is the software. I'm using Phoenix Miner here, the non-malware version. Every time you see something green, that group of green, it means we've solved part of the equation on our proof of work, and we've gotten a little tiny piece of Ether. This mining setup that I have here, which is running in a Windows PC that I think all in didn't cost $2,000 and is about 6 months old. It's my backup streaming computer, and it's doing nothing. So it's sitting there just mining Ether for us. It's going to make about somewhere between $4 and $8 a day, and it's working in mega hashes per second. It's mining on the low end between 50 mega hashes per second And last night I did a little bit of overclocking and tweaking and goofing around. And I got this thing up to about 59 mega hashes per second. And I actually threw another PC into the mix too last night. And I was running a little over 100 mega hashes a second out of here just for fun to see if I could make, there's every 14 days, the mining pool that I'm in pays out. And let's see if I can get a clean $100 out of this week. And then I would stop doing it because I don't want to burn up my graphics card. There are rigs in Asia that are 10 and 12 graphics cards per rack on a power supply, on a 2,000 watt power supply. There are people that have mining farms with thousands of either ASIC mining tools or just graphics cards racked up with a lot of cooling. A ton of electricity gets used. And a ton of electricity getting used is what's causing our grief and our issues with gas prices, because it is the gas price that is causing all of this to be happening right now. When you go to do a transaction on Ethereum, the miners get a cut. The fees are called mining fees, gas prices. The mining fees or gas prices are what they charge per transaction. It's very complicated. It's a big issue. And when we're going to see if we can mint something today without getting crazy. So the first thing we're going to do in our minting experience, we have to get ourselves a wallet to put our ether in. You must have some amount of ether in your wallet in order to start this, and you must have a wallet to start. Now there are two kinds of wallets, cryptocurrency wallets. Let's see if I have. Do I have one here? Yeah, I do. I thought it was in the other room. So there's two basic kinds, software and hardware. So if you want to do what I'm going to show you today, you can grab MetaMask. There's a Chrome plugin for MetaMask. Some people say it's less safe than the others. I don't know. There was all of this is every day, everybody's throwing a lot of BS out, but MetaMask is a fine place to start. I don't leave any of my crypto in MetaMask, but I do use MetaMask to move stuff quickly from certain areas online to other areas locally. And then all crypto that I care about goes in my hardware wallet. And I use and have for years the Ledger Nano. I think a lot of people like this. A lot of people do. The hardware wallets are really interesting. Let's see if we can show you this here. This is because it's totally, absolutely 100% hardware. And right now, I've got it so it's not even charged, right? You can't even, it's out of gas, if you will. When you plug this in, it lights. When you plug this in, it lights up and it connects. This particular version, this is the old version. It connects to your computer. And what you do is you download your cryptocurrency into it. And then it's no longer in MetaMask. It's all transferred into my offline hardware wallet. Now, I like it because the only way to hack it is with a $5 wrench. That's the only way oh, I'm sorry. I probably need to do this. The only way to hack it is with a $5 wrench. You have to hit me over the head with it and threaten me. You need the passcode to get into it. Get a software wallet if you want to do what we're going to do now, because it's super, super easy to do what we're going to do right now with a Trezor, which is a really good hardware wallet also, or the Ledger Nano. Very tough. Ledger makes a new one that holds more currencies and it's a little more expensive. It's like maybe twice the price. I think these are now like $140 or something, $120, $130. The bigger ones are like 200-ish. I think the old ones are fine, but the new ones, have kung fu grip on them. The Trezor wallets people really like, but again, they're hardware and you need to have some experience. For what we're going to do now, MetaMask is going to do you. It's going to work fine. Once you have your hardware wallet set up, oh, you want to know what the electricity cost is for my rig? Yeah. Yeah, this is a good question, John C. At what cost electricity? Depreciation of the rig. Yeah, the metrics of this are nuts. So we'll talk about this for a second. It's roughly here in New York, the rig that I have, this rig is roughly 25 cents per kilowatt hour to run. 21 cents maybe, somewhere in that zone. Call it $350 to $380 a year to run that rig, something like that. Now, Ether is so expensive right now. You can pick up, I don't know, let's go look and see what the mining rig is doing. I wasn't going to do this, so give me 1 second. I wasn't going to pull this up, but let's just pull this up. And I think I can just show this to you real quick. This is, let's make this a little larger for you guys. Oops, wrong way. Is that better? Can you guys see that okay? So this is what's happening today. This rig, there's one active, you can see if I can show you. There's one active worker here right now. The unpaid balance is whatever that is, 0.049 of a ETH or an Ether. And I still have to go a little, those are my estimated earnings. I can show this to you, and this is daily, so I can show this to you in, it's my unpaid balance. It thinks I'm making something like $7.81 every day in US dollars, that they owe me 97 bucks. I'm trying to get it to $100 by the end of the day, which I think I'll do. Right now, so I only have one rig running. You can see that the current rig is at 50 mega hashes per second. It's been averaging about 48.7. This thing is burning electricity like it's going out of style. This thing is burning, but it's making, the rig is making, $7 a day. So let's see. And that's an Ether, that's in Bitcoin. Let's look at what its monthly take would be in Bitcoin. Well, let's look in US dollars. It thinks it's going to make $237 a month. So if it costs me $350 a year to run the computer's $2,000. The useful life of that computer, 3 years. I'll ask you, is it 3 years to run that computer? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So, that's a fairly good, it's a good question to ask. It's a great question to ask. So I don't think that's good, bad, or indifferent. But let's go ahead and see if we can spend some of that Ether, right? Let's go, we've got our MetaMask, and now let's go over to a place that is the cheapest place you can be in full control on your own of what you're doing. And that would be Mintbase. Now, you can be out of control, and I'm going to show you a super easy way to do this in a minute, but totally in control of what you own, you can do that at Mintbase. So I think I'll go back to that monitor one more time, that clean monitor. So this is Mintbase, and you can, let's just go to create a store. When you come here, the first thing you do is you create a store. You can see that here. So in this basically says, welcome to the future of digital assets, and they want you to create a store. We're going to create a store. And it says, and I hope you can read this because it's pretty clear what it says. Oops, I'm sorry. What it says is ETH congestion might be too much. Sometimes it can cost over $1,500 worth of ETH to create a store. So if I want to get serious about this right now, I'm looking at, they're telling me I'm $1,500 to start this journey. How do you do it easier? Come to Rarible. This is rarible.com. And this is a little marketplace. Now, again, we have already created the wallet. You can see that they know that I'm here in Ethereum. That's up here in the upper right. I'm shaking my cursor so you can maybe see that. It's the upper right-hand side of your screen. It knows that I have a MetaMask wallet set up. And so all it's asking me to do is I can explore, but I can come over here. and I can hit create. And in 1 second, it's going to ask me, I'll make this a little bigger for you also. It's going to ask me, do I want to, I'm going to create a collectible. Do I want to do a single or do I want to do multiple, like a collection of trading cards or something? I'm going to say I want to do a single. It's going to ask if I want to put in a PNG, a GIF file, GIF if you're somebody else, WebP is another image, or MP4 is video, MP3 is audio, max 30 megabytes, because you really can't store a lot of data on the blockchain. You'd have to store it in a related database like IPFS or something. And then you go here and you're going to just hit create and you'll be done. And then it ends up in your little Rarible zone, and you're going to be in a store like this, in a zone like this, where you're just going to search and search and search and search and search and see if there's an NFT you want to buy. Some of them are going for really small amounts of money. Some are resales. Some people do what they do in the book world. They buy their own, or they have their friends buy them and collect them so they can say they're best sellers. If you want to go to the best place online to do this and do it quickly, for me, that's OpenSea. I'm also logged into OpenSea with my MetaMask ETH currency-based wallet. So it knows it's me. Here, it knows me by wallet number. I didn't have to do anything else but throw the number in, because it doesn't care who I am. Like my username, none of this matters. It only cares about this number, which is the public key side of my particular wallet. You can send me money here. I'm happy if you do. Let's create. So we go to create, and it says you want to create a new collection, and you just say, yes, I do. And now it's asking you what you want to create. Do you want to throw whatever you want to throw in here? You're going to put your name in, the description, and then you're going to create it. And then it's going to ask you a bunch of questions about the content that you've created. And poof, voila, boom, boom, hooray. You are now the proud owner of, and proud maker of, and proud creator of your own NFT. You have minted an NFT. Congrats. That's all there is to it. But it's not all there is to it, right? Now you got to promote it. You got to get out there in the world, and you got to make something happen. And if you don't make something happen, then nothing's going to happen. Basically, this is the World Wide Web from 30 years ago. Well, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, right? It's a business card on a wall of 5 million business cards. Creating an NFT right now is the equivalent, literally, of taking your business card and going to a wall with 5 million business cards and putting your business card on that wall and hoping something is going to work for you. Question right here from Robert H. Is Coinbase okay? Absolutely. Problem with Coinbase, if there is a problem, and this is up to you, there's a lot of fees associated with all of this. Coinbase, by far the most popular. You definitely should have a Coinbase wallet. There's no cost to you to set it up. You're going to want to put your money in and out of there, trade your money in and out of there. At some point, you're going to need to make some choices between a pure wallet, which is where you're storing your crypto keys, your cryptocurrency and NFT keys, and a wallet that's part of a financial institution or financial environment, or a clearinghouse, or someone who can settle transactions. Or more importantly, at Rarible, the way they've dealt with the NFT space here at Rarible, they have a thing called a Rari, R-A-R-I. That's their currency. That's their cryptocurrency. That's their way of transacting business. And what makes that work really well is that they don't need to settle the transaction until they do. So if you're okay with transacting in Raries and not having immediate Bitcoin put in your account, it's a whole other economic reality. If they can group stuff together and the gas price can be controlled because they've got one big transaction that they're going to do, and they're going to write to the block in a fell swoop, as opposed to piecemealing this in and bidding on gas fees and trying to make this work at the right time of day, and maybe not having your transaction go through because you didn't bid enough on the gas price, and now you got to cancel your transaction and go over it. You have to read up on what it is to do a transaction in ETH or BTC or any cryptocurrency in a world of miners. You really have to figure that out. So there's a value to Coinbase and other organizations where they settle transactions in their own cryptocurrencies, and you're okay with that, or they don't immediately write to the blockchain the second you do the transaction. There's a whole world of this. When caveat emptor was coined as a phrase, and I'm assuming that's a couple thousand years ago, they meant this. They were talking about this. You will be so burned, so hard, so fast if you do not do your research. If you don't talk to the people you need to talk to, if you don't research what a transaction is going to cost you before you download some stuff, you're going from a fiat currency, US dollars, into something else. And that something else may be a store of value. It may be a place you can speculate. It may be backed by a military somewhere. It could be backed by another fiat currency. Those are stable coins. As many combinations of crazy as you can come up with, you're going to fall short of what's actually out there. So do yourself a favor. Pick a simple wallet like MetaMask or Coinami or Coinbase if you like. It's fine. If you go to the Ethereum website, do I have the Ethereum website up? If you go to the Ethereum website, there, just type in wallets. I don't have it up, but just type in wallets and learn about wallets. There's an extensive writing on with links to every wallet, and you can learn about them. But the choice paradox will kill you, which is why I'm saying I'm not telling you to go invest $50,000 and throw it in MetaMask. All I'm saying to you is that if you want to do something really quick and easy online in a Chrome browser, MetaMask is a really nice way to do that. They've also got iPhone and Android apps and tablet apps, and it's just a fast, easy way to get in. Coinami is the same way. Boom, boom, boom. You're in it in a minute. Coinbase, yeah, you're going to want to do that. There are many, many, many others, and I don't want to even mention all their names because I don't want you to feel like I'm endorsing them. But if you name one, the ones that aren't cool, you won't find on Ethereum. You won't find on Bitcoin.com, which is kind of a repository of information about Bitcoin. Your questions, if you have them, please. I'm very, very happy to take your emails and to try and help you through this. We've got a bunch of NFT projects going every day. We got a bunch of cryptocurrency projects going. Before NFTs were called NFTs, it was just the tokenization of content, the idea of being able to label something, give it a unique identity, and be able to put it on a distributed ledger, also known as a blockchain, and create value in a business model with those tools. That has not changed, folks. Your NFT is just a representation, a unique representation of something that you believe is either a store of or the ability to create some value. If you can do that, fantastic. If you can't do that, it ain't much of a project. Before we go, I just want to throw one little super shameless plug in here. If you'll just forgive me. We do these salons. I know a lot of you go. On Mondays, 11:05 to 11:30, we do education tech. On Tuesdays, we do leading edge technology. Wednesday is my favorite day, and I don't attend it because I'm really not invited. This is run by Alexis Zinberg, our Executive Vice President of Client Services and Events. Women Championing Women. They had one this morning. I just thought it was fantastic. It's a wonderful, empowering group, and I've heard only good things. And so if you are a woman championing women or women crushing Wednesdays or someone who's just interested in leadership and leadership skills and that kind of wonderful group where everyone gets together and shares their knowledge about how to be a good leader in the 21st century. I think you'd enjoy it. So please feel free, 11 to 11, 11:30, 11:05 to 11:30, shellypalmer.com/salons. And of course, also tomorrow we're doing tech media and marketing, which is our main thing that we do and the thing that we are most known for and the thing I love the most. It's the witching hour, folks. I hope you've enjoyed today. Again, email me if you want to talk. Thank you so much for being part of this. It's my favorite day of the week, and I'm looking so forward to seeing you next time. For everybody here at the Palmer Group, I'm Shelly Palmer. This has been Strategy Hacker Livestream, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time.